Good day from eBizRadio.com, the place to go if you want to know about the world of business and the business of the world. You can follow us on our live site where we have a daily selection of podcast article uploads as well as music you can listen to on the live stream. I'm Nick von Stein, and today with me I have Sean Raubenheimer. He is the GM for the Analytics Division of Atvance Intellect. How are you today?
Hi, Nick. Very well, thanks. And thanks so much for your time. Looking forward to having a discussion.
It's great to have you with us today. So, we're off to our next topic of data with Atvance Intellect, and this is our 8th recording. So, we're going to be discussing today what it means to be a data-driven company, and especially highlighting the current issues around COVID and how that's affected the data that companies are collecting, how they're collecting the data, a whole bunch of myriad of topics. So, we'll get over onto all of that in a moment, but let's just start off with what you do in the company itself. So talk to us about your position in Atvance Intellect.
So I'm ultimately responsible for the business on a whole. That will include the strategy, the commercials, and the sustainability and the success of the business. We've got a great team that helps me deliver and execute on what we want to achieve out there. And ultimately, it's understanding what customers want, what their pain points are, and helping to find and build solutions with them. So it's a large portfolio. I stick my neck into a number of things, including marketing. But we do have a great team in the back end that really do back us up and help us build, what we have built today. So the business is going on 3 years. It comprises of both a cyber and an analytics division, and I look after the analytics division.
So let's talk about the analytics. It's such a large, over-encompassing division within your company, but well as a general topic to discuss. Let's break it down into its little subcomponents. So how do you guys go about getting the data and then implementing the data in a form that someone can use in regards to actionable intelligence? So I assume that you guys have loads of statistical methods and formulating programs that can get the needed data for someone.
Yeah, so that's a good question, Nick. And I think the one challenges that we found with customers that we engage in is it's not necessarily just around collecting the data. It's around collecting the right data. Customers often believe that the more data that they collect, the better. And that's not necessarily the case, right? Unless that data is adding huge value in your organization. Collecting data for the sake of collecting data, it's costly. And it's noisy. So what we'd like to do is sit with the customer and work through what questions you would like to ask of your data. So if you're the CEO, the CXO, or the IT manager, or a business owner, and you wake up and you walk into the office in the morning, what are the sort of 5, 10, 15 things that you would like to see that will help you run your business better? And those are genuinely what we call use cases, and we take those use cases. And once we understand the use cases, we map those use cases against what we call the data sources. So we understand what data sources are needed to be collected, and those are the right and relevant data points that we need to collect. The challenge and probably the differentiation, skipping sort of ahead, is that we've got this thing called dark data or machine data, also known as unstructured data. And a lot of customers are able to collect structured data and have been for a number of years in the BI world. Now there's a new thing called machine data. And a lot of customers are finding that to collect machine data is a lot more difficult than what it was to collect structured data. And that's really where Atvance, together with our platform vendor, Splunk, really do, separate or differentiate ourselves in the market.
So let's talk about that, the new machine-driven data. What's the difference?
So the difference between structured and unstructured data is structured data is, if you think about an Excel spreadsheet, where it's very structured, you have columns and you have fields that is sort of pre-identified. And to be able to visualize and pull that data in is relatively easy, because if you want a name, you call on the name field, and then you can populate the name field with the names that are in there. Machine data is very unstructured. It's raw. So you don't have the same structure as what you would find in sort of a traditional database. And that is where the challenges are. Adding to that is machine data roughly is growing 80% more than what structured data is. You can see where the challenges are coming in this new data-driven world. So machine data is your cell phone. It could be, you find them in routers, switches, cars, anything that produces data outside of a structure is what we call machine data. And there's so many different use cases that you can bring in using machine data. And that's really where Atvance is able to work with customers to be able to bring your structured data and your unstructured data and ask relevant questions.
I think the main thing to highlight is the fact that it's the organizational part. It's very easy to collect data. It's difficult to interpret the data, as I was saying earlier, into actionable intelligence. That's the word I like to use. Going forward then, companies are obviously grappling with this issue. Some of them are I would say that the newer ones are probably more able and more dynamic to adapt to this new reality. But a lot of the older, more established companies, the ones that have the corporate mentalities from further back, they're the ones that struggle, especially today. How can you go about helping them?
So every customer or business is in a different part of their journey, and I think the risk in any business is becoming, the next Kodak. We've seen so often that the business that produces the ice doesn't necessarily produce the fridge or the freezer, and the person that does produces the freezer generally doesn't go on to produce the next thing. And I think that's the reality in business, is that you've always got to sort of be looking at what's next. Data is the new gold or new oil, as it's been called out there, and it's around helping customers understand where that value is. And generally, we take it back to what are the questions that you'd like to ask of your data that's going to give you the answers to help you make better decisions. You use the word actionable intelligence. It's a great word, and something that we really drive within our customers, that data is only data until it's turned into information that you can use, and information is needed to be able to create action, and that's where the actionable intelligence comes. So it's great having the information or the alert or the dashboard. So what? How's that going to help you make a better decision? But if that information is able to trigger something that can proactively, change something in your business, that's true actionable intelligence.
Now, moving over onto current COVID-related issues, from your side of the business, what's some of the big changes that you've seen in the last 2-3 months?
So everyone's going online. I think the reality is it's the old traditional model where companies want to see the employees. They want to be able to touch and see them in the office from 8 to 5. And a lot of customers, including ours, started off with an output-driven business as opposed to time-driven. So it doesn't matter where you are, how you work, what times you work. Provided you have access, to the technologies that are needed for you to be able to work, we manage output. And managing output is a lot more, productive. It's a lot cheaper because you don't have, obviously, the additional costs of the retail space that a lot of customers are paying a lot more. And I think businesses are going to start relooking at the way that they go to market. I think they've realized that the employees can work from home, with the right technologies and the right solutions. They're a lot more productive, and their output is arguably a lot more than what they would be as if in the office, right? You'll know most offices are open plan. Most offices are noisy. People do, chat, take breaks. And I'm not saying that we need to get to a point where we never take breaks or enjoy life, but I think there's an argument for a hybrid model and a balance. And I think, the added benefits of that is, more time with your family. And a happy employee is definitely going to help you grow your business. Richard Branson says, look after your staff and they will look after your customers. And I think we're finding ourselves, especially with COVID, in that, the opportunity is there for businesses to relook at the way that their employees work. And that is going to be driven by data.
It really is a data-driven future, especially when you consider some of the trends that we see coming out of the next few weeks, months, the rest of this year. Companies really should be looking at how they can implement this. Just one question in regards to what type of companies you guys are engaging with. I mean, does it really range across the entire economy?
It does. And for us, it's the one interesting thing is there's not a single customer that has the same use cases or, the same questions that they're looking to ask for their data. So it's not a copy and paste. What we found that, we deal with a lot of the financials. We deal in the agricultural. So we've got a sort of wide variety of verticals that we play in. And each vertical has their requirements and business needs of their data. But there's nothing that can't be accomplished, just by understanding your business and by bringing context, to the business and what you want to achieve out of it. And I think that's a challenge that a lot of the companies are facing is the term analytics was great. Business intelligence was great. What it did for a lot of businesses is it visualized data, what's happening in my world, and it did that very well. But it also did it in silos. And the challenges that, customers were facing is that they were given the visibility into what their data was now, but it was also, siloed into a particular area. And I'll give you an example. If we take retail, we could visualize that sales are up, which is great. And you report that up to the executive and you say, look, our retail stores are doing well. Sales are up. But in context, if your feet going into your stores are down, it's only a matter of time until the sales drop. And I think that's where analytics has failed customers and businesses. And what we do is we bring a little bit more context. We look at companies a lot more holistically and we say to you, well, are you looking at a bigger picture? So if your sales are going up, but the feet in your store are going down, naturally that's going to lead to potentially your sales dropping. But if you are able to report up to your board to say, look, sales are going up, but we've noticed that, through the monitoring of the Wi-Fi and the cell phones in and out the store, the feet in the store is going down. And we need to look at maybe remarketing, maybe upping our advertising, maybe changing the way that the store layout is done. That way you can manage your sales in a more holistic approach to say, great, sales are up and the feet are up. That's a sort of sustainable model. And that's what we try and bring in when we talk about analytics and actionable intelligence.
Those companies that have online presences, do you think the amount of data that you can gather is more? I don't know how to phrase that question.
No, look, it's a good question. I think based out of the UK now, the one thing that I have noticed that is different here than in South Africa at the moment is the amount of e-commerce websites and the amount of people that are buying online. And I have no doubt that it's just a matter of time until companies in South Africa are going to have a bigger online presence. The challenge with online is making sure that it's up all the time. And making sure that you're getting the right amount of value. So you understand your customers, who you're targeting, but more importantly, that your site's up. So if you could predict when potential problems occur, especially in an e-commerce world, that could be worth millions to a business. So another simple example, if you're going to be running out of disk space or running out of memory, if you could predict that an hour, a couple of hours, and you could very quickly spin up, additional memory, additional disk space, that as an e-commerce or that as a business can save you, potential millions over the year. So there's so many different use cases that can add business value and ultimately drive a more profitable and sustainable business.
Yeah, and really, that's just one example. I mean, you think about those retailers that crash just about, whenever some big holiday comes up and you go and try to go to the website and bang, they're down. They lose your business. You multiply 100%. That by a few hundred customers and you're suddenly talking about real money.
No, 100%. And like you say, that's just one example. If we look at, another simple example is if you were doing a marketing campaign and it was attached with a voucher, you could in real time across your entire retail chain, you could see how many of those vouchers are being brought in every time to buy the coffee or to buy the donuts or whatever it is. And you can actually monitor in near real time how successful that particular marketing campaign is. And I think the challenge with any marketing spend, and we find it in our business, is, how do you produce return of investment on that marketing? And there's nothing better to be able to attach a marketing campaign with business value. So, we've issued, 1,000 vouchers, and we use those 1,000 vouchers, over the 48 period. That's a tangible outcome that you can go back to business and say, this campaign was successful. It made us X amount of money because the person that brought in the voucher also then spent additional value on, more than what just that voucher was. So now all of a sudden in the e-commerce world, there's measurables. And I think that's what business is about. It's about measuring the value of what you're doing. And is it, can it be copied and pasted, across, other use cases?
Now, you said that you were based in the UK. What are you doing in the UK at the moment?
So Atvance is expanding its business. Our CEO and owner of the business, of the Atvance Group, he lives in the Netherlands. And the idea was we had a very good model in helping customers, use their data and expand on their data and use it to really grow their business and get good results. So we've taken that model and we've brought it to the UK and the Netherlands, and we're hoping to extend the value that we have, with our customers in South Africa to the customers in Europe. So we've seen a gap. We've seen a niche where there are certainly, competitors, here in the UK and Netherlands. But I think we've got a model that's worked very successfully for us in South Africa that we would like to bring in and help customers here.
Over in the UK?
Correct, yeah. And in Netherlands, yeah.
Netherlands as well, obviously, because he's in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So we're targeting both the Netherlands and the UK as the first stop, and then we see where we go from there.
And that's a wonderful thing for a South African-based company, because it brings in much needed foreign money into the country.
100%, yeah. And look, we're South African, we're homegrown, right? And to be able to take a business that was started in South Africa, the skills are in South Africa, and take on the world, for want of a better, is great. And it just shows you the type of skills and knowledge and resources that we have in South Africa. I think often, we sometimes have the perception in the tech world that, that we can't compete in the bigger world. And the one thing that we have found is that we certainly can, and we can compete very well. And I think that's great. And, there's more and more South African companies expanding, especially in the technology world, and being very successful at it.
Yeah, one of the things we do have going for us with a depreciating, collapsing rand is that doing things for other countries becomes much cheaper on the businesses side, because you guys, you may be charging in euros or pounds, but at the end of the day, that reflects into real rands and more rands.
No, 100%. And I think the key there, and it's a good point you raise, Nick, is that continued investment, right? So, being able to continue to reinvest, in the resources, to continue to add things like the internship programs that we're starting off in the next 2 months, to be able to, give, individuals that have not necessarily got experience in the field, but have gone through a tertiary education and want to gain that experience and sort of don't know where to start or how to get in. I think we just one of probably thousands of companies in South Africa that are creating a platform for them to have a relatively easy entry point, gain the experience, not only locally, but hopefully some, abroad as well, get that exposure and hopefully they'll kick on from there.
I was thinking of a nice metaphor for what you do, like a simple metaphor. And I like the idea of you're the guy in the lighthouse, making sure that the light's working in the storm.
Look, I like the metaphor. I wish it was just me, but like I said, we've got a great team, and it takes. I mean, you'll know from any business, it takes every single person in the team and in that business to get that light on. But it is a joy, and we love what we do, and it's a passion of ours, and I think that's what keeps us going.
Is there anything you'd like to add in closing, Sean?
I think in closing, I think the message for me is that if you want to be a business driven company, you need to bring data to every question, every decision, and every action in your business. And if you can do that, regardless of where you are in your journey, you will be successful, because the company that is using their data wisely and collecting the right data is unfortunately in the new world going to be more successful than the ones that aren't. So, we're here to help. We're here to advise and consult. If there's anyone or, any business that needs anything, you can always give us a call. And thank you very much, Nick. It's been a great chat, and you've raised some really good questions and some topics, and thank you for this opportunity.
Sean Raubenheimer, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Nick. We chat soon.